Stories bring lessons, laughter, unforgettable experiences, and memories that far outlive the storytellers themselves. Great stories happen to those who can tell them. This is the Jackin Around podcast, hosted by two-time Academy of Country Music Award winner and master storyteller Jack Ingram. In these open dialogue podcasts, Jack digs into the personal stories of a wide variety of special guests, including your favorite music, sports, and entertainment personalities. And now, to introduce today's guest, here is podcast producer Matt PT2.
Thank you, Rowdy Yates. Coming up in less than 1 minute is part 2 of a 2-part podcast series of episode 3 featuring world champion bull rider Tuff Hedeman. If you missed out on part 1, check the description below for the link. With that said, Jack and Tuff kick off part 2 with lots of humor, but quickly turns into a pretty serious and deeply personal conversation about Tuff's late best friend, the late great Lane Frost, and the grief he still endures over 30 years later. Tuff also visits with Jack about his retirement, plus more. So real quick, some housekeeping notes. The Jackin Around podcast is available in audio across all major audio platforms and in video on YouTube, provided at jackinaroundpodcast.com, and in the description below is a wealth of information about the podcast Jack and Tuff, including audio, video, and social media links. While you're there on the website, sign up on the email list to be the first to know about upcoming podcasts. Last but not least, if you enjoy this podcast, I can't stress enough how important it is to subscribe, share, comment, and give us a big old 5-star review. Here's part 2 of episode 3. Enjoy.
What was that ghost? Hey, man, what was that ghost?
Well, the ghost for me was I grew up never having a girl would even talk to me until I made the national finals. And then all these girls that had been fucking mean to me my whole life, they want to hang out with me. I'm like, that's odd.
Was that anywhere close to the reason y'all got divorced? And I'm not trying to get too personal here, but like,
was it? No,
I'm not.
Not trying to get too personal, really.
But
did you listen to the fucking question?
But was it kind of like?
Are you fucking serious, Clark? I rode bulls for a living. I get it, but really, motherfucker.
I was trying to couch it a little bit.
Really, motherfucker.
Hold up, man. Look at me.
I'm not gonna be personal. I'm like,
Tough.
Are you fucking
Tough.
kidding me? I got married when I was 23, when I was a fucking kid. I got married because I thought I'd never had fucking girlfriends.
Oh, you didn't? You were just into bulls and...
I worked through high school. I
got married. You really weren't good at bull... So in El Paso, where it was like a rodeo kind of...
No, it really wasn't.
Being the rodeo was kind of cool.
Not really. It's like, rodeo's cool. There's segments of fucking Austin or segments of fucking... anywhere where it's cool. It's not cool everywhere. It's an isolated thing, you know.
So it wasn't like you walked down the halls of high school and it was like, oh, there goes Tuff.
No, well, the first 2 years I went to high school, I went to a Catholic all boys school, and the only time that being an ugly motherfucker came in handy was going to Catholic school.
Because the priest didn't want to fuck you.
Because I'm on my children's life. 20 years later, the high school I went to. They settled a case with the guy that was a principal for a multi-million-dollar sex abuse case. And they weren't the sisters or nuns that were a bunch of fucking pedophiles. But I was ugly.
You felt bad kind of, right?
No. I was pretty excited.
I'm kidding. Like, why don't you want me?
And I went there for 2 years. I made straight A's for 2 years. And whenever my brother graduated, I told my mom, I said, you know, I'm just never going back there. And I said, you can beat me. Y'all can do whatever you want, but I'm just not going back there. Yeah. So I went there for 2 years. And
freshman and sophomore year?
Mm-hmm. And it took me away from the kids I grew up in, elementary, junior high. And then I went back to high school. Fuck, I didn't know anybody. But I went there and I was so angry the only time in my life I've ever been really angry for 2 years. Every day I went to school, I was angry because they're making me go to this fucking place that they were all boys. I had nothing in common with any of them. They were either real wealthy.
Why'd they want you to go there? Or what?
Well, because they didn't want to play favorites because they made my brother go. Anyway, so the only thing I learned when I went there is that people will never fuck with a guy that they think's crazy.
So hold on.
And you know why? Because when I go there, I'm there the first day. I'm walking down the halls. And when I'm a freshman, I'm little. And I've got the thickest glasses in school, which is never fucking cool.
Can you not see?
No, I'm blind as a fucking bat. Always been blind.
Hey, man, that
So-
might be why you're real good.
So I'm walking down the hall, and the upperclassmen, the seniors, they grabbed me. They throw me up against the lockers. They sing the fight song, freshman. I said, fuck you. I don't know your fucking fight song.
That
So
probably
they-
went over well.
So they fucking throw me around, kick me, knock me down. So then they walk off, and I get up, and I'm fine. A couple of days later, one of the guys that was one of the ringleaders, I saw him, and he was by himself, and there was like a gymnasium, and it's built on. You've been to El Paso, it's around downtown. It's like built on mountains.
Mm-hmm.
So it's down in like you walk in to go to the gym, and there's just like, railing, and you look down like 25 feet is the bottom of the gym. And I walked up, and I seen that guy, and I walked up behind him. I grabbed him by the fucking throat, and I fucking held him over there. And I said, if you ever fuck with me again, I'll fucking kill you, motherfucker. And he's a senior, and he's like a bigger guy. But I just grabbed him. I said, I'll fucking kill you, motherfucker. And so, like, for the next 2 years, I'd be walking down the hall, and those motherfuckers, they would just walk to the other side of the hall, would not say a word. I didn't say a word, but I went there for 2 years, and I had one fucking friend that we weren't even really friends, but one guy I would talk to. I would go there, go to school, go home, and that was it.
Wow.
But people don't want to be around a crazy guy.
Yeah, man.
What
I got a
are
buddy
you the most afraid of? The motherfucker who might
The guy
show
who's
up and
not
just
afraid
light
of
you on
anything.
fire.
The guy who's not afraid of anything.
Yeah, you don't give a fuck how big their muscles are.
I got a buddy who's got a song about that, and it's Todd Snyder, and he's got a song about how he saw a bully fuck with a kid, and he was not cool, but he went up to the bully and he fought him, punched him, he got his ass kicked, and he goes, "That's cool. You fuck with him again every day, you're gonna have to fuck with me too, and I'll be here until the end." And he never fucked with him.
And that was it?
And he never
That
fucked
was
with him
it?
again. Like,
That was it.
you keep fucking with me, I will fight you
Yeah,
every
yeah.
time.
Yeah, just
It's kind of that same thing.
pretty simple shit.
Does
yeah.
that come from being the youngest of seven?
No, it was just
Like, was it seven brothers or what was it?
it was
were
3
6.
brothers, 3 sisters. But it's cool to be the youngest of 7 because you get a pass because they're tired. Your parents are tired. They've already your parents have already tried to raise.
Everything perfectly, and
You start with the first one. They're always going to be, you're going to be this, and this, and it just never works out. And so, like, half of us were good, half of us were bad. We can debate that, but we all know who they are.
right.
But when you're the youngest, they're like, "Hey, don't cost us money. Don't embarrass us. Don't
The simple things.
you don't have a curfew. Just let me know where you're at. What's going on?
I was the youngest of 3. It's the same thing.
And so
like,
yeah,
just don't fuck up.
but by the same token, you never get anything new. You have hand-me-downs. You have never anything new.
Right.
No.
All your jeans have
But
holes in
but
the knees.
but for the most part, it's you're not. If you're the oldest, you're like in.
You're in no win
You're
position.
you're in military school.
Yeah, you're in a no win
March
position.
and all that, and
Make us look good. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're the oldest, is make us look good. If you're the youngest, is don't make us look bad.
Well, if you're the youngest, to me, it's like, who lets their child go ride animals? And I always figured that, what, probably not the best thing, but if we lose him, hell, we got 6 more.
Yeah. Were your brothers into rodeo?
My
Or
older
horse
brother
racing,
was.
or-
My older brother was. We all did the same thing, but yeah.
So you kind of look up to him.
Yeah, and he actually
Was he good at it?
rode, and he was a really good bullfighter, and yeah, but
Bullfighter as in
as like a protection guy, like
yeah.
when a guy rides somebody.
Side note.
Yeah.
Side note. Why is it bad to call them rodeo clowns?
They're because they're two different things. You don't call a drummer a guitarist. It's two different jobs. So a rodeo clown is kind of somebody who tells jokes or acts.
Where are they in a show?
In a show, okay. So you go from like bronc riding to roping to rail racing. So they're a little like entertainment or segue between events.
Those are the clowns.
Those are rodeo clowns.
They're out there fucking around.
Yeah. So a bullfighter is really a guy.
Serious.
Is a guy who serves as the bull rider's protection. Like when a bull throws someone off, or when
Diverting
you get
their
off,
attention.
it's to like divert. To get the bull to if the bull is not all that happy, to get them to come at them versus the rider. So
right.
So a bullfighter, like say, okay,
it's a different.
What's the difference between the lead singer and the guy?
Anyone else? A lot.
Yeah. So,
I get it.
So are you? Would you be offended?
I'm a bullfighter.
If I called you, no, I know you.
I know
you're,
fucking clown.
I know you're Jack. I saw you. I don't even want to say it because I'm gonna disrespect somebody. I'm like,
what?
If I call Jack, don't you drive the bus? Okay, no, you're the lead singer. So
I sing. I ride in the bus.
Yes, exactly. That's my bus. Okay, so it's the same thing.
It's a different thing.
Yeah, you don't.
So unless you know, So unless you really know what happens in the full spectrum of rodeo, you're not going to really understand the difference, because they always called them all rodeo clowns. And then when it started to become a thing, I was like, what? What's the difference? And now I know.
Well, it's just, they're different.
So
different job responsibilities.
What was his name? Charlie Coffey?
Leon Coffey.
Leon Coffey.
Black guy.
Yeah. He was a bullfighter.
Well, he was a bullfighter when he was younger, and he was a clown when he was older. He evolved. He went from lead singer to the bus driver.
And he was cool with that. Maybe. Who knows?
We never had that conversation.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But yeah.
Okay, so the reason I took a break earlier is because we've been talking for 45 minutes or so, or whatever, how long it's been. And I didn't want to take this lightly, and I didn't want to take it when I didn't have a fresh brain. But so you're best friends with Lane. Y'all are traveling. Your families probably have Thanksgiving together or whatever. Y'all are all tight. What happens when, and you're at one of the biggest rodeos of the year, right? Having it shot.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Was he in the lead? Set up what was going on?
Well, it was 1989, and we were doing what we always do. We were going from, that week's a busy week. You go from.
By that time, you had sponsorships and.
Well, not sponsorship, but we were the guys that won everything.
Yeah.
At that time, one of us.
You're like Rory McIlroy and Tiger Woods.
It was me and Jim and Clint
showing up for the thing.
And Lane. And so, when we showed up, we were going to win. That's just, it's not being cocky. It's not being arrogant. That was kind of the fact. And we kind of knew it, but we didn't ever act like that. We were excited and happy because it was fun. It's fun to win.
You're actually living the dream.
But he was having, he wasn't having the best year. He'd won a world championship. He'd won NFR, but he was a guy that, he.
Was he not into it?
No, he was very much into it, but he'd been beat up a little bit, and just the nature of the way he rode, the way he got off. He never got off very well, and so.
What does that mean? Like he never knew how to.
Yeah, when you
Fall off?
Yeah, well, yeah, you have your
There you-
hand and your rope, and you have to use rosin, which gives some, makes it sticky so you can hold on better. And the more you use, the more difficult it is to get off.
So when it's going bad,
Safely.
you can't get off.
Yeah, sometimes when you're off and you're still stuck, kind of stuff.
I would imagine that you probably used a lot of rosin then too,
Yeah, we use a lot because
you don't worry about your teeth.
we want to win. It's kind of a win at all costs. But anyway, he hadn't had the best year, and so we get to Cheyenne. I ride, and then he rides. He makes a really, really good ride. And as soon as he gets off, he hits the ground, and this bull just kind of, what we would call, just kind of smokes him, which meaning he's laying down. They just kind of go and they kind of hit him and just kind of don't get him down and like gore him or anything, but just hit him and just keep going. Like it's like a drive-by,
Mm-hmm.
You're on your bike and somebody drives by on their motorcycle and just knocks you down, just keeps going. But you get up, you got a bruise and you're cut, but it didn't look like anything serious.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as it happened, it's kind of muddy and a little rainy, and he kind of gets up, and as nice as he was, and people have no idea how physically tough he really was. So he would never. And so he gets up and he kind of waves a couple times and says, if he's asking for somebody to come help him, that means
Something's wrong.
something's wrong. So he does that twice and he hits the ground. And they've got, very competent doctors and all kinds of emergency people there, and they go out and, they get in, put him on board, and they actually have a little mini ER there on
A little
on the
triage
premises.
center. Or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
And so as soon as I saw him do that, I knew something was up. And
Because you knew that he doesn't ask for help.
no, yeah. And so then you walk out there and you don't want to get in anybody's way and let people work. And you could just see that something was up, and they take him back and they start working him. And I knew that it was bad. So they work on him there a little bit there at the little makeshift hospital at the arena, and then put him in the hospital, and we go to the ER, and I get in the ambulance with him, and I know it's bad.
So are you yet to ride?
I'd already ridden.
Very ridden.
I was just watching. And then, but when we get to the hospital, I go in the ER with him, and they try to resuscitate him for a long time, but he was gone.
What
before he ever
happened?
left
What
the
was
room.
it?
Well,
Did he get?
Well, ultimately, what the bully just kind of pushed him into the ground, and
Right here?
It broke a rib and it severed a main artery, and he just bled out like right away. And yeah,
And was this on the Saturday or the Sunday?
This was the last day. Yeah, this was of the finals, and yeah, he actually got a score and won probably third or fourth overall at the event.
So he rode the bull.
Yeah, it's just when he got off. And so, yeah, it was.
Where'd you finish that day? Not that it matters.
Like in the top 10, I
So
think.
you were done. And you
but
were finished,
yeah,
you were just watching.
and then so
your best friend.
and as soon as that happened, that was just like my whole world just collapsed, and it changed forever.
How long did it take? Like, okay, so that's when? What part of the year?
Well, that was July the 31st, 1989.
Mm-hmm.
He was pronounced dead. He was pronounced dead at 3:31 p.m. And the coroner was like Radomski, I think was I mean, I remember
remember
details
that.
like that.
You
I
remember the
remember
guy's
that
name.
shit like it was yesterday.
Yeah, man.
And I've never been. It's something that you don't get over. I'm not over it. I'll never be over it.
How long did it take you to get back on a bull?
Uh,
That was July 31st.
Probably a week.
So you just went right back at it.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do. I didn't.
Did you talk to anybody?
Yeah. A guy I grew up with a little bit. His name's Barry Tubb.
I know Barry.
He went with me the first place I went.
So y'all were y'all friends from rodeo, you and Barry?
I've known Barry since I was 7 years old. Yeah.
So y'all rodeo together.
Yeah. And so, yeah. He came with me. The first place I rode again was in Casper, Wyoming. And like, after, like, you don't even want to do anything when something like that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Or for me, because you don't know what.
Were you married at the time?
Oh, yeah.
Could your wife provide any comfort, or was it just?
I just felt lonely because he was,
He's your guy.
Yeah, and I'd never really had anyone like that ever. So
Like a soulmate, kind of.
just a fucking dude that
Just knew you.
the cool thing about him was, and how I became such good friends with him, he would tell me shit that I was like thinking to myself, fuck, I would never say that. I would never tell anyone how I was really feeling.
Like you're really gonna be a pussy.
But he was a guy that, like, when he went through some stuff that he never told anyone, that, like, when you see somebody is successful and you think, well, it's all great, but there's always something everybody has something that's not good. And he would say things and what he felt, and I'm like, holy fuck, I never would have the balls to say that to anybody, because it just, I don't know, you'd just be afraid to be that open and honest. And so I learned that kind of thing from him, and just well, nobody really could.
Is part of that why you like music so much?
It was a very personal thing.
Is part of that why you like music so much, or songwriters?
Yeah, I did. And how I did the music deal was like, whenever my son started, he was my oldest son, Robert Lane. He was just like a wonderful kid. Charlie's the one that introduced him to music.
Mm-hmm.
And when he started,
Charlie Robinson was friends with Barry.
With Barry, yeah. That's how I met
That's
Charlie.
how you met Charlie.
Yeah. And so it's kind of funny that way, but yeah, it's just a different.
Is that openness of, like, if you write a song and you go, whoa, I would never.
Well, yeah, he Lane would tell me things that he told me things like, holy shit, thinking I could never say that.
Give me an example, if you got one. Just something that, like, man, where he's like about chicks.
Yeah, well, about something more personal than that, like family stuff that I would never disclose to anybody. So
he would let you in on the real shit.
Yeah, like the shit that I would say. He'd say, "Yeah, what's going on?" I would say, "No, nothing. Everything's good." But he knew everything wasn't good.
And when he said that,
and what I would ask him,
did you open up to him?
No,
you son of a bitch.
No, because I didn't. I just didn't. I did.
Did it, after he passed away, did it make you wish you had, or do you do that now?
Well,
you know what I mean?
Not necessarily, but all I know that I was better in every way as a person because of him, because he was pretty much the one that taught me you're supposed to be fucking good. You're supposed to be nice to people.
Yeah, it's okay.
And I wasn't malicious or mean by nature. It was just like, I was always like, you don't give a fuck about me. I don't give a fuck about you.
It's one-dimensional. I'm gonna beat you.
Yeah, I just don't.
And when we're done, we're done.
I don't give a fuck. I just don't. But it wasn't. That was just how I was.
But it's not how you are now.
No, but what he taught me is that, hey, meet people, engage people, get to know people, and you'll really truly be amazed, and you feel better about just knowing other than something that isn't about you.
Yeah.
And he was a pretty driven.
He's driven as you?
As selfish, selfishly he wanted this, that, and the other, but he never really made that an open priority that, but he had a little more polish than I did. I just didn't give a shit, I didn't ever try to pretend to be something that I didn't think I was.
That's right. But you were attracted to him in a way that
because
you saw what that was.
Yeah. And so, but I learned, hey, it's pretty fun, pretty cool to meet people that are completely different from you, that do different things, and just kind of part of growing up. And
is he part of why you said earlier that you just love meeting people that are the best at what they do, or that really strive to be the best at what they do? Was that kind of the sensibility that he had, like that you might have picked up from him, like where you go, well, man, seeing people who really, whatever field we're in, that really want to be not the best, but like the best. Well, not as a bragging right.
No. Anybody that works their ass off to be good at something.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be, you don't have to be the best at everything. I mean, I'm just a fan of somebody who just puts in the time, effort, and energy to do something, and sitting around waiting for their ship to come in, and there ain't even any water.
Right.
It's
sure,
like
the ship ain't.
And they're always, it's always somebody else's fault. It's, we all can go back to have a million reasons why we never made it.
Yeah.
You can blame it on your family. You can blame it on, we were lucky enough to figure out, it was personal responsibility.
So that next week after he passed away, so suddenly on a Sunday, mm-hmm. on a championship Sunday, and you decide, I'm sure there were plenty of conversations with you and your buddies, the two other guys you rode with. What are their names again?
Well, you got to, and my buddies are like, they're both quiet, not.
So they're cowboys.
They're cowboys.
You're not gonna get it out of them.
No, yeah, but
so did y'all talk about it?
They were good.
What are their names again? I'm sorry.
Jim Sharp,
Monger, and Clint. Yeah. So, are y'all traveling next week together?
For whatever reason, I went by myself to the first place, and then Barry went with me, but it was horrible. Like I got on, I rode, I got off, I cried for.
Did you ride the bull?
Yeah. I was like on autopilot, yeah.
But what was it like to get on there thinking, did that even cross your mind?
I'm crying the whole time.
So you're really distraught.
Like tears are running down my eyes the whole time. And I get off and I go cry for probably half an hour.
Was it even worth
myself.
Or was it
I didn't know what to do, but that's all I really knew. And I'm like thinking, I know that I just put myself like, if that was me, I would never want them not to go do what we do.
But was there also a part of you going, but why?
But yeah, you question everything.
Really, why?
You question everything. It's a very miserable feeling. Yeah.
And your buddies felt the same way?
Yeah, but they're like quiet, tight-lipped, just never talked about it.
Have y'all ever had a night where you go out and drink whiskey and just
not really.
punch each other?
We always talked about we just talked about, fun shit, and we never really got into it.
Poured whiskey on a grave and all
not
the silly shit that guys do.
Not really.
Do you wish for it?
I was just miserable for a long time.
Yeah. Like, is it still really rough?
Well, it's not rough, but it's there.
Yeah.
It doesn't go away. But he was,
man, it sounds like
he was gold. Yeah. And I don't say that like trying to be
I know
whatever,
you.
because the reality is like everybody thought he was their best friend. He was that guy.
Yeah.
Because he just was. And I'm not the only one, but yeah.
But you were his best friend.
Well, I was probably in the top 5, maybe. I don't know if I was.
You were the only guy he wanted to beat
He
at the time.
But then we go to the NFR, and it was just, and I'd been doing well, but I told myself, I would actually, I had to win this really for him, and I really believe that. And we go through the week, and we get to the last day, and a friend of ours asked me in the alley, say, "Oh yeah, can you win it today?" And I said, "No, I can't." And the reason I said that is because Jim Sharp was in the lead, and he had ridden 9 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, going over 3 years, he'd ridden 23 in a row. Before Jim Sharp came around, nobody ever rode 10 in a row. So he'd already rode 23 in a row. That'd be like an artist having 23
number ones in a row.
consecutive
Be like
number ones.
Yeah.
Like number one. Like there's no way you're going to beat this guy. And so for me to win, Jim had to get bucked off, which he hadn't done in the previous 23 times over 3 years. And I had to win second. I said, so no, I can't. There's no way.
You had to win second place.
I had to win no less than second.
But no less than second.
Second or third. If I won
So you were in the
fourth,
lead, points wise.
I was, I think I might have been, or
But
might
he was
not
on
have
a roll.
But
I get it.
after it's all added up, he would have won.
Mm-hmm.
If he stays on, I'm like, he's 23-0. So he's going to be 24-0. So I ride mine. And then I was so excited that I stayed on and whatever. And so I ride him, longer or whatever.
That's the thing I've seen 1,000 times where you
so,
rode 8
And
seconds
so-
for him,
and-
8
and-
seconds for you.
Yeah. And it just happened. And so then Jim gets on, he gets fucking slammed. And then I win. And I couldn't believe it. But like when I got off, I'd never been so sad and so happy at the same time. But
Did it
It
bring
was-
you any solace, any peace?
it did to a certain degree, but
Your buddy still ain't there.
it was still, no, it was a long time. It was a long time. He was a one of a kind dude.
Mm-hmm. So the rest of your career was still badass. Were you always riding? Where after your best running buddy passes away like that, and I assume that there were other buddies of yours, running buddies, that also got injured badly. Maybe like were there other guys that were close to you that while you were still in your prime that made you second guess it, like that passed away or died or?
No, well, it was funny because after that, and Jim and I, we traveled together for a couple of years, and then,
We all flying planes together. We all driving together. How we all traveling?
No. We like after that, Jim and I bought a plane. We had a plane and we flew for a couple of years. And like Jim Sharp is one of the best guys ever.
Mm-hmm.
And so I continued with him for a couple of years, but then after that, I started just doing my own. That was when we started the PBR events, and I spent just more time working on the organization of that.
What was the other guy's name?
Clint Bronger.
Clint. Where's Clint?
And I always feel bad about Clint Bronger because, even
where's Clint now?
When they had
at this time in 89.
Well, then he was there, and what sucked is like it always pissed me off. Is like they never even like in 8 seconds because you try to put together.
It's a shitty deal, man. He was ninth in the batting order, but he still was a pro.
But you put you put together a guy's life, and you got an hour and 45 minutes to do that, and you can't put in everything.
Yeah,
and like the making of 8 seconds was one of the most challenging things I'd ever been around in my life.
I bet you wanted to have so much control and you couldn't.
Well, they actually, the director who was the guy that directed Rocky, and he had won an Academy Award, and they were shooting a scene. I walked out in the middle of shooting. I said, "Fuck this bullshit. You can't do this." So they offered me.
Good.
How much money will it take for you just to leave and never come back? I said, "You don't have enough money, motherfucker."
You're talking about my best friend's story.
That's exactly. And so Luke Perry takes me back. He said, "Dude, just trust me. I will." And Luke Perry is the only reason that it just didn't turn out a complete shit show.
I'm sure, man. Every cliche in the book is silliness, man. Every movie I've ever seen about music.
I always say,
shits
you know what?
The bed.
If it's no good the way it was, then don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't make up your bullshit to make you
so
think
Clint
it's
wasn't
entertainment.
in it.
He was completely cut.
And was he a part of the PBR?
Yeah.
Good.
Well, yeah, he was part of. Yeah, he was.
But not what he should have been.
Well, what he should have been.
I get it.
Cut it off. Okay, so if you have a group of fucking 20 guys, hey, we're gonna go do this. 2 or 3 guys do all the work, and the rest of them say, "Where's the beer? What's fucking for dinner?"
That's the way it goes.
But that's fine.
Yeah, man, it's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
And everybody who does their part, whatever part they did, lives with the consequences of how that showed up.
Well, they all got paid. So anyway.
So when did Bodacious enter the scene? Enter your world? Was he always there? Was he?
No. But a bull. They start usually bucking bulls when they're maybe 2 and 3 years old, and they start. They're
what's their life? What's their span of being an athlete? At 2 or 3, they're retired.
They start to be. By the time they're 4, they're like college athletes.
So 5 or 6, they're getting close.
And so
to done.
5, 6, they're veterans, and by 7 or 8,
they're done.
They're gone.
Yeah.
And so Bodacious came around, and
what year?
Oh, that would have been probably early 90s. And they rode him a few times when he was younger, but he was a big, kind of clumsy, whatever. But whenever he grew up and became became mature and filled out, he was a monster.
As a rider, are you aware of these young?
Not really, unless there's something exceptional, and he really wasn't, but he was a big,
Yeah,
but once he grew up, he just the way his style, the way he bucked, he had a tendency to be dangerous to the majority of people that were riding because he had some movement and some athletic ability and really unique that he'd come up, which tends to make a guy get lean back, and then as his front legs came down, had a force that would just bring him forward, kind of a downdraft, and
then he'd come
hit
up
people
faster than you.
And so he was just very dangerous.
Did you know this?
I didn't really know it until I saw him around, and then I'd got on him a couple times, and this is he'd already grown up. I mean, he was like a big badass, and so I was okay with that. The way I rode, I wasn't susceptible to most, the way most guys rode, because my style was a little more. I stayed forward a little more. It's like,
so you were having a ricochet yourself.
Well, if simply like if you're sitting here playing a guitar and you're back here and you're playing like this, and so, or you're sitting here playing like this, like when you're riding, that's the same thing as the way a bull's bucking. If you're back here, when they come down out of the air, they're going to bring you back here, down there. But if you're already there, they can only centrifugal force. There's not a lot they can do. And so most people just naturally ride back here because this explosion, you're getting away.
Knocks you back.
And you have to have the ability or the wherewithal to stay
Is it
forward.
a mindset or is it
It's
core muscles?
Well, it's something that's taught over time.
Okay. I got you.
And so most people, even the really, really good guys, were scared of him because I wasn't, because of the way I rode. And so I got on him a couple times and he bucked me off because I would always be so forward. My hand would kind of roll out of my rope. And so he had him in Memphis, he bucked me off. Then I had him in Tampa, he bucked me off, but just because I couldn't hold on my rope. And I told my best friend, I said, if I can just hang on to my rope, I know I can ride him. So I have him in Long Beach, California.
Is he like an adversary at this point, like something that was on your mind? Like, I'm going to ride that.
Yeah, because he was a big, yeah.
So he's one of the only bulls that you were like, man,
he
I
was
haven't
the talk
ridden
of
him
the town, and
yeah.
He's a badass. And I go, well, maybe, but we'll see. And but he'd already bucked me off. But so I ride him at Long Beach, and I'm like 95, like probably the best ride I've ever made. And again, it's a scored subjective event, but I was 95 out of 100, and that was probably the highest score I'd ever had, or the best, whatever. And then I had him a year later, and I think, well, no problem, I'll do it again. But the first jump, I'm good, and then he got to where he'd gotten bigger and stronger, to his head back and just obliterated.
So he's jumping down, and where you think he's going to come back up naturally, he's jumping down and unnaturally comes up.
He got to where he'd throw his head back. Yeah, he just come back with a force, and there really wasn't anything you could do to get away from that. Like if I was leaning back to get away from that, when he hit the ground, I would be splat. But if I do this like I normally do, it was splat anyway. So
and he just came and splatted you.
Yeah, just crushed every bone from here to here.
Have you ever talked to Rudy Tomjanovich?
No, but I've seen him. I've seen him on TV.
you guys should have a conversation,
and I've seen the whole deal. And the funny thing about it is I remember everything exactly as it happened.
Do you remember going?
I got up and I was kind of stunned. And he helped me up and I'm walking out. So, they had a straight. I'm good. I said, I'm fine. So I'm walking with a buddy of mine.
Did you think you were fine or you knew you were fucked?
No, I thought I was fine.
You just thought it was like a bad fall?
Well, actually, I was fine because broken bones are fine.
Right.
I didn't have head trauma. I didn't have concussion.
I forgot you're Tuff Hedeman.
No, I'm
For
just
a
saying.
second. I'm just kidding. It's funny because you're right.
Broken
You are fine.
bones. Broken bones are broken bones. They heal in 4 to 6 weeks, and and so it wasn't like I had internal injuries.
So you weren't scared.
No, I'm walking back with my guy, and I'm like, initially, it hurt, but it was just like a sudden whatever.
A
But
pop.
I was conscious, and I think just the adrenaline of that. I'm walking out, and I'm telling my buddy, I said, I must not look very good, because as I'm walking, I know blood's running down my face, and I'm walking, and I said, tell my buddy, I said, I must not look very, very good, because these people, they're like looking at me, they're going like this. And I said, I think I broke my jaw, because when I bite down, my teeth don't touch. And he said, yeah, you're okay. And so we walk back, and we start to walk up into the
That's a good friend.
to where the sports medicine guys are. And I start to walk in there, and Dr. Freeman said, get your ass to the ambulance and go to the hospital. And so I go down to the ambulance. Well, the ambulance guys were already back. Well, like, this is at the MGM Grand. And
They're ready for you.
no, they're already back watching the event, because I walked out, and I'm walking towards
So they didn't know.
like the sports medicine room. And so I sit down, and I'm watching Troy Dunn ride. I remember watching Troy Dunn ride. And so I'm telling my buddy, I can just feel my face.
Swelling up.
Yeah. And I've got contacts. I say, hey, help me get these contacts out before my eyes swell shut, because my eyes were swelling shut. And they come, they open the door, and I was good. And as soon as they laid me down on the stretcher and put me in there, that's whenever shit started hurting.
That's when the blood rushed back to your head.
That's whenever, like,
it felt that.
I felt like somebody, like, who's beating me up. And so I woke up a day and a half later, and they'd done all kinds of reconstructive
surgeries and everything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then I drew him 6 weeks later at the NFR.
You what?
I drew him
6 weeks later. So hold on.
at the
That
NFR.
recovery time was how long?
6 weeks
So the next event you had was that?
was the national finals. Yeah.
So you had already qualified.
Mm-hmm.
And you go to the NFR and you draw them again.
I go to the NFR not knowing if I'm going to ride or not, because I go and I see the guy that did the facial reconstruction. I see the doctor that I respect the most, and I said, can I ride? And they both said the same thing. You got 5 titanium plates. I think everybody was wanting them to tell me, no, you can't ride, because I'd lost like 25 pounds.
And you hadn't ridden a bull, so you weren't like in everyday
I hadn't
shape.
ridden, yeah. No, I was skinny. And they said, well, if you feel like you're okay, if you feel like you're strong enough, then this is fine. If you get hit in the face, it won't be any different there's wire, there's screws, there's titanium.
You put it all back together.
If that hadn't happened, it would break your face and be no difference. And so I went ahead and rode. And in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have, because I wasn't very strong, but I still rode 5 out of 10. But after the first, half of it, I draw bodacious again. And whenever I came home, my oldest son, Robert Lane, he was 4, and he didn't recognize me whenever I came home, because there was so much swelling.
You hadn't been home since?
Well, no, I went home. I was in the hospital for, right, a little bit less than a week. But whenever I went back home, he didn't recognize me. And then when, he was 4, but he said, well, if you ever get bodacious again, you're going to have to chicken out. That's what he told me. I said, okay. So So when I go out there, I know I've got a 1 in 15 chance, 1 out of 15 chance of drawing bodacious. And I'm like, well, of course I'm not going to draw 1 out of 15. What's that chance? So, of course, I get him again. But so there's a rule that if you don't ride in a particular round, then you have to decline. You're disqualified from the next round. So being the college educated guy I'm like, okay, so I get on him like I'm gonna ride. And so when the gate's open, I just don't, I hang on to the back and the guy holds on to me. So technically I rode so I could ride the next night.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I didn't get on him.
You didn't.
So that was it.
That was it.
But for him, it was, yeah. Because he had nearly killed me, and so I wouldn't even give him another chance. And then they retired. So the next time they bucked him was 3 days later, and he obliterated a guy's face.
Did the same thing.
Exact same thing. And then they retired him after that. And he said, oh, yeah, you did the right thing. I said, I didn't have to see him crush that guy's face to know that that's what they were supposed to do.
Now, what was the documentary that I saw on the way out here where they showed a victorious moment of you riding him again?
That was before. That was before, yeah.
That was before.
Yeah, that was the time I was 95. That was the best ride I ever made. Nobody ever remembers that. They just remember the bloody one.
Of course, man.
Yeah.
Now, do you remember that? In your mind, do you have any regrets about that?
No.
Good.
No, I don't. No, I don't have regrets about hardly anything.
Well, of course not. But
No.
do other bulls?
He was a one of a kind. Bodacious was just a one of a kind.
Do other bulls replicate that move, that thing where they?
Not really. You know, they just. He was a freak in that, you know, with his size, and you know, he was like a guy that, like a lineman, being able to play, you know, defensive back.
Yeah, like a Lawrence Taylor type.
Just a
athlete.
Kind of a big, freakish, did things differently, and he was terrifying to most guys.
Did he terrify you?
I wasn't smart enough to be terrified.
Yeah.
I thought I could. And
you did.
I thought I could, and I did once.
That's
but
right.
I said I was 1 out of 4, but in the end, he was better than I was. But
have you ever had a moment where, like a Dateline NBC moment or whatever, like one of those silly moments where you actually had a moment to go look at him and be like, you son of a bitch.
not particularly, no. No.
Like just you and him, like
No,
Apollo Creed and Rocky Balboa.
No. They, you know, again, they're like, their years are like 1 to 4 or something like that. So, I was confident I would last longer than he did, and I did barely.
Yeah. So hold on, I've always wondered what is this from?
So that's a go round. Like at the national finals, they have 10 straight days, and if you win that night against, you know, there's only 15 competitors, but they're the best 15 guys, and so if you win that night, you win a buckle. So that's the buckle I won.
Well, man, when you gave that to me at Bostocks.
Yeah, and a Pecos buckle too.
And a Pecos buckle.
And so Pecos is one of the first rodeos in the history of the world. They have this debate as to whether Prescott, Arizona, or Pecos, Texas was the first major rodeo, but yeah, the Pecos buckle's cool.
I've always been interested because I knew you then,
Mm-hmm.
and we had become friends through Charlie
Mm-hmm.
from the Wolf Dance and hanging out on his bus or my
Mm-hmm.
bus. But then I was just playing a bar
Mm-hmm.
in Stephenville, and you showed up and you gave me that. And obviously it hit me in a way where I go, oh, holy shit. But what made you do that, I wonder?
Well, when when I was growing up, and buckles in rodeo, they're a prize. If you win, you win a buckle, and so there are different levels of buckles, but as you get older and you advance, at every level, that's a sign that you won whatever event, and so when I started winning buckles, like when I was in high school, it always seemed silly to me that as much as I appreciate winning and trophies, I can only wear one buckle.
They'd give you something they don't really need. I get it.
And so, like, guys that I worked with, like when I would win a belt buckle, and like I would give them to my friends or people I liked, and like, and my mother, like, when I started doing that, she's like, you shouldn't do that. And I'm like, why? She said, well, you're going to want those one of these days. I said, no, I won't. I said, I can only wear one. And so that's just always been me. I would always rather give a buckle to somebody who I liked or I appreciated or who is my friend, that I would rather you wear it or have it than put it in a trophy case at my house. So when you could come to my house and I can go say, look what I did. I'm a big deal. I won all these. And it just seems so lame to me.
I get it.
So my goal is I keep very few buckles. I don't want any of them. I would rather have somebody else have them, and I give them to people that I respect, that I like, or my friends, or I think they're my friends, or I want them to be my friends, or whatever. But if you like it, and if not, give it to the homeless. I don't.
Well, the funny part for me is that.
But it's like in rodeo, it's the biggest,
Yeah, I know.
It's a big deal.
I've shown people that have been in rodeo this buckle.
Anybody that's ever done, like, ever rodeoed, like, if you had to have an NFR buckle, that, it's a big deal. I mean, it might not be a Grammy, but it's a big, it's a big deal in that world, because.
Well, it's funny you bring that up, because
it's a big deal.
I do have other awards, like CMA awards or ACM awards or whatever, and I keep this right up there with the most important things that I've ever
and
gotten.
And I'm giving it to people like people I give to that. They say, and it's not like I'm trying to. It's just people I respect or I like.
Well,
and,
that's what it felt to me.
It's what it is. It's
I remember
not
telling people, like,
it's
you
not,
won't
I'm not
believe
trying
this.
to get you to. I'm not trying to get any free shit from you.
I knew that.
I say,
at the time you gave that to me, man, I couldn't give you any free shit you wanted.
If you want it, wear it. If you don't, burn it or take it to the pawn shop. And, I don't. It's just, yeah.
Well,
so
I appreciate it. And I appreciate it.
I don't want
still.
any of them. I've got a couple, like my boys, who are the most thing the proudest thing in my whole life is my boys. And, my mother said, well, you're going to want those one of these days. I said, no. Well, your kids might. And I said, well, I'm 18, 19 years old. I said, well, if I have kids, I guarantee I'll take care of them. So every one of my boys, they have a world championship buckle, and,
You only need one of them.
And that's fine. I don't need, whatever. So, I mean, people that have them, there's some people that people like. I've given them to people that, like, if you gave me something that you had, that you did, and that would be, to me, that's more exciting than something I did, But I've always been like that. I don't want any of them. I don't. Give me that one back. That's just not me. It's
Nope.
not.
Yeah, I got a pair of boots like that. I got like I gave him, like, he's gone and gotten my pair of boots that I wore for 20 years out on the road all the way up to wherever I got. And he'll go retrieve them because I give them away to people.
I give every fucking thing I have.
Yeah.
I give everything I have away. Like somebody says, "Oh, I like that hat." Okay. Have it. I'll get another hat. I don't, it doesn't, shit like that. If you'll enjoy it, and
it's what you got. It's not what you did.
Yeah.
I get it, man.
That just is what it is.
Hey, everybody, this is one of my heroes. And I'm not real good at beginning or any of these things, but this is Tuff Hedeman, and man, you're never going to find anyone better. I mean, on a personal level, on a professional level, if you ever want, I hope you enjoy this. All I ever want to do is all I ever want to do is the same thing that you like, man, who's the best? Let me go watch them. Let me go figure out what they're doing and try to steal some of their shit. And when I watch you,
the thing is, I've never been the best. I know that.
No,
I could hang. I could always hang. But you know what? That's okay with me. It's okay with me.
It's not being
It's
the
okay.
best of all time. It's at those moments where it matters the most. You came through.
When the guy, at the end of the day, in my generation, I could hang with the best.
And man,
But was I the best? No, hell no. But I could hang.
you hoisted
I could hang.
the final belt buckle a couple times. Man.
Yeah,
that's a pretty big deal.
There were some pretty weak years, but
Of course, and you choked a few. But who gives a shit? You won a few too.
I won a few and lost the rest, and that's life.
Right.
That is life.
I feel the same way, man.
That's life.
I released 25 singles. One of them went to #1. I'm good with that. Like, we're all in the same boat.
There's not very many Georges or Bradys in the world.
That's right.
But yeah.
Thanks for hanging, man.
Still good to be us.
I love you.
Love you too, man.
I didn't even ask you about your bent finger.
It's kind of like my brain. It's kind of fucked up. Yeah, you can't make that work.